Today I'm going to show you guys how I turned $5,000 into $500,000 in trading profits. But before we do, let me get started by saying we are bringing back this style of video. It was very well received on the internet. So it's just Loom. It's just me recording my webcam here and sharing my screen. So since it was received so well online, we will be keeping the theme going. So I'm just gonna walk you guys through exactly how I did it, through some slides, through my journey right here on my computer. But before we get into it, let me introduce myself. My name is Victoria Duke. I'm 33 years old. I'm currently residing in Nashville, Tennessee. I have been trading the markets for 10 years now. I was taught a strategy by a family member. So today I'm gonna show you guys how I turned $5,000 into $500,000 in trading profits. I'm going to walk you guys through the ups and the downs, the years of no progress, and the snowball effect that happens. I didn't start with much, so some of you guys may think since a family member taught me how to trade, I must come from a very wealthy family. You know, had daddy's money or family money to rely on? No. I didn't come from much. So, grew up in multiple different trailers, trailer hopped in Middleburg, Florida. These are my three sisters and my grandma in the background in Middleburg, Florida. Another thing that people might think is that I have a finance degree of sorts, or that I just know something. And the answer is no, I don't. I don't have a finance degree. I only went to college for a literal semester. Didn't even finish. I am a college dropout in addition to being a beauty school dropout. I at least did finish high school, although I can guarantee if it would have been up to me, I would have been a high school dropout as well. So fast forward to now, we're now trading with $500,000 of trading profits. And the coolest part is all of my account balance was built 100% purely by my own trading, by my own ability to grow my capital through my trading profits. And one of the coolest things is I've been able to help thousands of traders become profitable. All I'm doing is showcasing a strategy that is comprehensible, that is digestible, it's tangible, it's realistic, it's not overly complex, and by doing so, I'm able to help thousands of traders. It's the coolest, most fulfilling thing I could possibly do. We've also just passed 1 million followers across my socials. So exciting. But now I want to show you guys how. How did this all happen? How did I do it? I went from an ordinary 23-year-old, is when I got into it, to a full-time trader, one of which that can make $18,000 while I'm in the sauna, which is pretty cool. That was a cool trade that day. I also want to show you guys how trading gave me time and location freedom. And what I'm going to show you is how you can do this too. But we have to start all the way at the beginning. So we're going to put the VHS in. We're going to stop, rewind, wait for that thing to get all the way to the beginning. So we've got to go all the way back to Jacksonville, Florida. I went to FSCJ. I had planned to go to college for occupational therapy or special education. I was trying to figure out between the two. I had worked at a few summer camps for special needs, and it was one of the most fulfilling jobs I've ever done, ever. Had the absolute time of my life. But you get one of these every once in a while. You get a curveball, or speed bump, if you will. Boom. This guy. Car totaled. I was living on a street called King Street in Riverside in Jacksonville, Florida, and that was the street that all of the bars were on. So I didn't total my car. I'm fast asleep while this is happening. This is street parking. I don't know if you can actually see the building. That might have been my old house right there. I was asleep upstairs, out like a light. I wake up the next morning to see someone had totaled my car while it was parked. It was a hit and run. Probably a drunk driver. I'm assuming drove to the bar, got wasted, and tried to leave. And it blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. My car was completely totaled. I also wasn't paying car insurance back in those days. I was prioritizing other bills, you know, like rent and food and groceries, and car insurance was not one of them. So the car was gone. There was no help here. Car was totaled, nothing I could do to get it fixed. I had to resort to riding my bike everywhere. This was a very interesting time in my life. Never did I think I'd have to be commuting on a bike everywhere, but I ended up falling in love with it. I ended up becoming a sponsored athlete, started to compete. So I moved to LA chasing this sport. LA was the ultimate mecca hub for this underground, grungy cycling sport that I was into at the time. It was an absolute blast. I mean, I was doing incredible with my racing, which was so cool. But it wasn't making me any money. is the thing. And LA was really expensive. A girl coming from Middleburg, Florida, trying to make it in LA, let's just say, long story short, I had to go back home. I just couldn't do it. I was couch hopping. I was trying to find jobs. I mean, I did, and I was kind of a shitty young adult. I would show up late to jobs. I think I ended up getting fired from like a bikes and hikes place in LA. I worked at a cycling clothing company. Like I was bouncing around trying to find jobs, trying to make things work, but I just couldn't make ends meet. And it was a sad truth to come to, or a hard pill to swallow, but I had to go back home. So I left LA, and this is when I got a very interesting phone call from my sister Peyton. So my little sister was currently living at my uncle's house. My sister Peyton and my sister Shay. They were both living at my uncle's house, and I believe Pay had graduated early, so she was just trying to figure out what she wanted to do with her life. And my youngest sister Shay was attending homeschooling at my uncle's house. But I got the call. I got the call from my sister, and she said that her and Uncle Mike had an idea and were working on something and asked if I'd be interested. This is Uncle Mike. He is one of my greatest mentors, a leader that I look up to in every way, shape, or form. I could only hope to embody half of the things that Uncle Mike has taught me, instilled into this family, the morals, the values, his faith, his finances, all of it. Incredible. My sister told me they had come up with an idea and asked if I would be interested in moving in with them, and he was going to teach me and my sister how to trade. This was kind of like him experimenting. And I didn't have anything going for me. I had absolutely nothing going for me. I had just had to leave LA, was fairly devastated, and I'm like, why not? But what he wanted to do was, he was experimenting with teaching my sister and I how to trade. So I don't think he had been able to teach anyone younger how to trade before, and he wanted to kind of do this science experiment, if you will. And he wanted to record himself teaching me and my sister to see how we progress and how we retained the information and how we kind of took what he taught us and ran with it, or if we could even understand it. So this was like a giant experiment here. I was going to do it regardless. There was I had nothing else to do. I was like, yep, let's do it, let's go. But I did have doubts. I had never understood what my uncle did before this moment. I knew he owned multiple businesses. I knew that he did trading. I had seen his trading room before. I had heard the order filled when he was placing his trades, but I just didn't understand it. And I didn't know if it was something that I would be good at. And I also had to wonder, like, okay, what did my uncle do to get him to where he is? And what would I have to do to live up to that, or to be able to even come close to that, to get to his level of success? And I'm thinking, okay, did he get a finance degree? Did he go to college? Do I need to go to college? Do I need to get a finance degree? Maybe I need to be smart when it comes to politics or the economy. But I'm thinking, okay, at minimum, Uncle Mike, listen, I wasn't even good at school. I didn't get good grades. I didn't think of myself as very smart, if I'm being totally honest with you. Wasn't great at math. I scraped by every single grade, every class. I'm thinking, there's no possible way I'm going to be smart enough to do this. Wrong again. This changed everything for me. You don't have to be an Einstein. You don't have to be an A+ student. This is something that you can learn to do, just like riding a bike, just like learning a new sport, a new hobby. And sitting down and speaking with my uncle and asking him all these questions, he made it so relatable, so understandable. He made it so elementary, essentially, for me, to where I felt like I actually could do this. He really started from the very, very basics. And since he had already been trading for 20 years at this moment in time when he's teaching me and my sister right here, he knew exactly what to show me. He knew all of the stuff and the noise to scrape out that I didn't even need to know, that I didn't even need to bother with understanding or learning. He showed me the bare bones basics of what I needed to know. So after all that, I learned, no, I didn't need a degree. I didn't need to be savvy in politics or the economy. So that made me very confident, because I was thinking, all right, this is going to be 10 times harder than I'm ready to get into. I'm not even that great at school. But turns out you don't need any of this. So it got me excited. So this is when we started, and this is what our days looked like. This was every day. We're waking up, we're at the breakfast table, talking about psychology, talking about the way we need to be thinking, the way we look at money, the way we were thinking about the markets, the movement. And then we go to our computers, start trading at New York Open, and we'll come back for lunch when the markets have kind of settled down a little bit, and we'll go over our trades. I'm talking, it was all day, every day. A year-long crash course. I knew nothing beforehand, so the momentum was there. The excitement was there. And just to reiterate, I hadn't even considered or fathomed that this would be an industry I would get into. Didn't even consider it. But it's time to get to work. So my uncle had faith. He had hope that we'd be able to grasp this information. And it was such a fun time. Oh my gosh, an absolute blast to learn from a family member and to do it with your sister. So cool. A little bit of competition too. But we got to work. An entire year of, think of it like an internship. I moved in with my uncle and we studied for the year. What I did do is I started with a sim account. So my uncle's teaching me how to navigate the charts, how to make a decision to enter the market, how to exit the market, but I did this with a sim account. So this is like paper trading, fake money. I'm looking at real-time market data, what the price is doing in real time, but I am engaging in it with fake money. And I traded my sim account for a year. Now, I will say the first year, even though my uncle had stripped it down to like the bare bones, it was still information overload. It was a lot to take in. I was also looking at mini charts. So as eager as I was and excited as I was, I wanted to trade everything. I wanted to trade it all. I was looking at Facebook, Amazon, Netflix, Priceline, Home Depot, Ford, Chipotle. I'm trading a lot of charts and I'm hopping between many different time frames. The plethora of different charts to look at, I was chasing every single opportunity. I was looking for every moment to get into the market at all times. I was all over the place. I wasn't as consistent. I was even kind of modifying some things that my uncle had showed me, just thinking, well, you know what, I think I see things a little bit different. So I was really all over the place the first year. Now, I will say, people do think that trading is complicated. And it can be. It can absolutely be. It can be complicated if you do it the wrong way. I mean, you can make anything more complicated than it has to be. I feel like that's in any industry and anything in life. So my breakthrough was one simple, repeatable system. And when I tell you guys, if I showed you the trades that I placed today versus the trades that I had made after hitting this breakthrough, they are the same. They're exactly the same. So this is what the breakthrough consisted of, or this is what the breakthrough looked like. Fewer markets, essentially less charts. I'm not trading Chipotle, Facebook, Amazon, Home Depot, Netflix, all of the things at once. I narrowed it down. Now we're only looking at a few different charts, a few different markets, and also fewer time frames. Instead of looking at the 5-minute chart, the 1-hour chart, the 4-hour chart, the 2-minute chart, I narrowed down my time frames as well. And then the last one is one of the most important is I started focusing on high probability setups. Instead of taking every single opportunity in the markets, I narrowed it down to my highest probability setups. So it was cool. I finally got to find my footing. The ball just started to feel like it was rolling. And then it was time. I decided to go live. I deposited $5,000 into an account and I got to work. I had such high hopes. It was so exciting to think we're finally going live. We're doing this. We're making this work. Here we go. Now, I would have loved to tell you guys that my balance gradually grew to $500,000 from then on out. No, it did not. It was not that easy. That was not the case at all. This is close to what my account balance looked like for years after depositing that $5,000. So the first year, $5,000 in the account. We're doing well. Oh my gosh, we're making profits. Boom, we lost the profits. Okay, we're making profits. We lost most of those profits. All right, we got some traction. Here we go. We're up 7,000. Boom, back to break even here. We're making some profits. Back to break even. We're making some profits. See the theme here. I couldn't keep the momentum. Every time I made money, I lost it. Every time I made money, I lost it. There was no progress for years. So tough, mentally draining. This was the hardest. This is where most people don't make it through, or they end up going into the negative, blowing their accounts, and then they're discouraged and they're done. I started year 1 and then year 3, same place, at the same place. How discouraging. Now, all of this was done while I was still working other jobs. So I wasn't a full-time trader. Now, I did have hopes that I would be able to build my account and leave these jobs so soon, but it ended up year after year after year, the progress didn't happen. The big spike didn't happen. The snowball effect didn't happen. I wasn't making thousands and thousands of dollars and paying myself and transitioning to full-time trader. No, I was trading while working at the YMCA, while working at restaurants, while working admin jobs. I was trying to do as many things as possible, working for myself as well. And I wasn't seeing the results from trading. I was noticing myself struggling to stomach the losses when they occurred. It was a rough time. So I started to realize that even with a strategy and even when you start to see consistency, the losses still happen. It's inevitable. They're gonna happen. And the discipline was tested to the ultimate maximum. Do you keep going? Do you keep going after the years of no progress? I was sitting with a very heavy decision. The losses hurt. It was discouraging. How do you keep going? How do you keep going after that? Well, I had to just sit and reminisce, reflect, if you will, on all of the past times where I was like, you know what, I stuck it through though. I kept going. So I just reflected on how I've been resilient in the past. So I realized, okay, I am an incredibly resilient person. I can do this. So I just had to start applying the same mindset to trading. Had to do it. Had to channel that inner resilience, that inner tunnel vision, and bring it back to psychology first. I understood the process. I understood the system. And this is something that my uncle had always said, and all of the analogies. So, quick little tip here. The way that my uncle taught me to trade was, it felt like it was done in parables. I would ask a question, and the response would be with a question. Or he had many different analogies as how to think about trading, how to think about the markets. And one that stuck with me the most is this analogy he had about frying chicken. So me and all the girls, when we lived with my uncle, we made dinner. And we took turns. Sometimes we made, chicken pot pie. Sometimes we would fry chicken. We would do these fairly fun dinners all the time. And he used this analogy to help me with my trading. And it was right off the bat, like one of the first few things he taught me. And it was to be prepared for a fire at all times. To always just be prepared. And the analogy that he gave me was, if you and your sisters were going to go make dinner tonight and you're going to fry some chicken, what would you do if I told you there's going to be a fire tonight? And I was like, okay, we would just get ready. We'd get prepared. I'd make sure we got some flour. We know where the fire extinguisher is. And he said, okay, good. Well, let's say that you make dinner and there ended up not being a fire. I was like, oh, okay. All right, I could see that. And then he said, okay, now maybe the next night you go make chicken pot pie. You put it in the oven, and let's say I tell you, okay, tonight there's going to be a fire. Then I would tell him, okay, well, I got everything still there from last night. I got the flour still in case something happens with the oven. I got the fire extinguisher. Like, I got everything where it was before when you told me the last time, so we're going to be fine. And then so on and so forth, to where now we're on night 10, night 20, and there was no fire, but he kept telling me there's going to be a fire. Well, by the 20th night, I put everything away. Like, he told me there was going to be a fire. I got it out for the first day, for the second day, for the first 10 days. All right, I'm putting all of the equipment away. I'm putting all the flour away. I'm putting the fire extinguisher back under the sink. There's no fire. Well, on the 20th night, there's a fire. And you're not prepared. And this was his analogy to think of the markets like, every time you go into a trade or go into the markets, you have to be ready for the worst case scenario every time. That fire extinguisher has to stay right there, right next to you every time, no excuses. Even if you go into the markets and go out and there's no fire, you get in and you get out, there's no fire, you get in and you get out, you have to be prepared for one every single time just in case. And that was his analogy to me, and that was the first analogy. This is what started it all, was for me to, okay, well, when I'm getting into the markets, I have to be prepared for worst case scenario every time. So this was one of the first things that I remember him teaching me. So I had to rechannel this mindset, being prepared for the worst case scenario every time. I got to understand that I can stick through the drawdowns, I can work through the challenges, no more quitting. So this was the phase in my trading career where I was able to build up my mindset, essentially. After years of trading, everyone, we finally started to see some success. We were able to maintain. It was the most exciting thing. Now, I say it's exciting now, but it was still a slow burn. It was still a slow excitement, if you will. Not a slow burn, a slow excitement. My account had finally grown past the $5,000 mark where I just could not get past it, was stuck. So I finally felt like I was coming out of that back and forth phase. And it was around this time that I finally started publicly talking about my trading. It was still on and off, and it was still kind of scary and a new thing. Back then, this was in 2019, it wasn't a popular thing to talk about your finances. It was kind of, I would say, frowned upon-ish. It's not anywhere near like it is today, where everyone's talking about how much money they make and how they make their money. Whereas before, it was just not quite the same. I started to see some bigger wins, but the old habits of watching charts consistently drained my energy. And now with the added pressure of publicly showcasing my trades, I was glued to the screens more than ever. So I made one shift in my trading, which had made my trading ever since then so much better. So much better. So I realized that my process was strong enough, and that I don't need to babysit my trades, but also I don't need to be glued to the charts. I don't need to sit here and stare at every single candle on the chart or every single price movement. This was a game changer. The alerts. I could do my chart analysis, set my alerts, and then close my screen. Unheard of. I didn't have to sit here and stare at the charts for an opportunity to get in. I could set my alerts, and then when my alert went off, then I knew it's time to get into my trade. I'll get into my trade, set my alerts yet again, and then go about my day. It was one of the coolest things to finally discover, is that I don't have to sit here and get into a trade while I'm watching it for hours and hours and hours because I might miss the move. Instead, I can do my chart analysis, place my alerts, and then close the screen. When the price does finally make it to one of my areas of interest, the alert will go off, and I won't have to be sitting here staring for hours. So I'm going about my day. I remember I was doing personal training at the time. I was doing hot yoga, running. I'd go to coffee shops on a regular basis. So I'm able to go about my day in its entirety. So even outside of the alerts, this might blow you guys' mind even more, but this was all done from my phone. I am a phone trader. I don't know if there's a different term for it, but I'm mobile, completely and utterly mobile. My trading is done from my phone. And since everything could be done on my phone, this is where trading truly became that tool for freedom. I was not sitting at a desk full time. This was not a full-time desk job for me. I was taking my trading anywhere. So this lifestyle that I had imagined as a beginner finally was becoming a reality. My uncle had already done this. He trades from his phone. He was able to go on vacations, take the family on trips, and still trade simultaneously. I was finally able to start making that a reality for myself too. Oh, it was so cool. This right here is how you know you've made it or are on your way. Is when you can finally start living off your trading. Fast forward to year 6, 7, 6, 5, 5 to 6-ish, and I had finally grown the account to 25K. We did it. We grew the account. We got that buffer. And this is where I could finally put a system into place for paying myself. Once I grew the buffer, because that was the hardest part. It was easy, sure, to build up the profits, but then lose it all. Build up some profits and then lose it again. And not be able to maintain. So once I finally got that buffer, that was my new standard. That was my new load. That was my new maintenance. And that's what worked for me in my brain to help me realize that, okay, if I can maintain this amount, I can start paying myself. And this is when I created this system to where if I could maintain the 25K or the 20K, anything I can make additional now, I'm going to pay myself. So if I made money, pay yourself, and then we're back to the 20K or the 25K. Anything you made additionally, pay yourself, and then we're back to baseline. This is what worked for me, and I think this is what allowed me to continue to get that momentum. So with that system in place, trading was no longer just numbers for me. It was freedom. Time freedom, location freedom. So the years of failing, the years of learning, refining a process that works, brought me to where I am now, here. 50,001 trade at an event that I was attending in the middle of a conference. So cool. And I realized that it actually is true. I mean, you got to reach a level of success until you finally can understand. There were always doubts, thinking, even though my uncle said I don't need X, Y, and Z, it probably would have helped me. It probably would have given me an advantage. I wish I was smart enough. I feel like I did need to be smart enough. I should have made better grades. And that's just so far from the truth. I was able to truly realize and truly understand and come to terms with, no, you don't need a finance degree. The system doesn't have to be complicated. And you don't have to be in front of your computer for hours and hours a day. Truly, this goes back to what I was saying in the very beginning. You need the discipline, you need the patience along that journey to stick it through, and you need the strategy, the simple strategy. It was exciting and it was nerve-wracking, but it was manageable. And I had confidence in my process. And I think this wasn't only just confidence in my process, but it was trust in my mentor who was teaching me the process. I mean, it makes a tremendous difference when you truly trust the mentor and you truly trust the process. Then it strips away the doubt. You just know that if you continue to maintain, it's true. It can work and it can happen. Trading can give you that freedom. And when I tell you guys, this is so true here. This is so true. It's true. This part right here. That anybody can be a trader, can be a successful trader. There's no one way a person has to be or an ideal trader. This is what they look like right here. No, they're all so different. Anybody can be a successful trader. Now, successful trader, what does that mean? What is the box for a successful trader? Contrary to popular belief, it does not mean making hundreds of thousands from trading. It does not mean living a life of luxury. It does not mean only wearing designer clothes or owning a supercar. To be totally honest with you guys, some people's goals are not to make $50,000 in a trade. It could just simply be making an extra $500 to $1,000 a month. Some people have other goals here. Take my sister, for example. Her ideal career path is not to be a successful trader. She's working on becoming a singer. So the lifestyle of a trader is not what she's trying to embody. She is simply just trying to make some extra money to help fund her singing career. This is so similar for so many more people. I know that's not the goal. People have so many more passions. Musician, actor. Maybe you're just a dad or a mom pursuing a career and you're just looking for some extra income. Now, she did learn alongside with me 10 years ago. You saw her at some of those slides. At the very beginning, she had learned right alongside me. Well, she ended up falling off and pursuing music and didn't come back to trading. I stuck it out with trading. Now here we are 10 years later. I am reteaching my sister how to trade, and I had just helped her. This is super recent. This happened, when I tell you guys this, it says this video was posted 3 days ago. I mean, the screenshot was a little bit older, but it happened just this month. She was able to close her first $1,000 trade. But the point is, trading success is unique to each person. But to get back to the timeline, back to the story here, lockdown happened. I don't know if you guys recall having to look like this on a regular basis. But this is actually a moment where so many people got into trading. Now, I had already been trading for years before lockdown happened, but this is a moment where people were forced to find other ways to make money. And a lot of people got into trading during lockdown. I ended up having a great run with my trading during lockdown as well. A lot of people found success. The markets were wild. They were super volatile, but I was able to capitalize. And I think a lot of people were. And I felt like I was just... So this is where I was so excited to have already known about trading and how to trade. So I was able to truly capitalize on all of the movement during lockdown. I mean, yes, I felt like everything started to click, but it was just more so the fact that I was so grateful to have already learned. A lot of people were just now learning how to trade coming into lockdown. But this is where, for me, I wasn't learning. Like, I had already got it down. It felt easy to me. So it was just some mega moments of, like, gratefulness, so thankful for the opportunity. When I tell you guys, if you can just put yourself in position for something amazing, just like lockdown. I had already had years of experience before, but since I did, I was able to put myself in a position to capitalize on situations. So if you guys can think of it the same way, all you got to do is put yourself in position for the opportunity. And that's exactly what I did. So the process of keeping my account at 25K and just paying myself additional was working well, but I knew that if I wanted to scale, like if I really wanted to get to this level that my uncle was at, or these bigger trades, I had to scale my balance as well, not just my withdrawals. I had to let my account size grow, but I also had to increase my risk and position size. By the end of 2022, I had $100,000 in my account. And by 2023, I was able to have my biggest withdrawal. Such a cool feeling. $50,000 paid myself. And then from here on, each year got better and better and better. My profits didn't seem to, they did double year after year. Fast forward to today, guys. I successfully did it. I turned that $5,000 into over $500,000. Passed 1 million followers across my socials, and I've helped thousands of traders find consistency using the same strategy that I use,